Hello everyone, welcome to my segment 3 teaching memo, which means we are at the halfway point. We're headed for home. I'm going to do this in two parts today. My housekeeping is a little longer than normal because I'm going to talk a lot about the selective response test. So I'm going to break it down into two separate videos so you can watch them at your leisure. We're having a beautiful 4th of July weekend up here in Poughkeepsie. Dr. Laura and I are hosting our pseudo-grandson for the week as he will be attending a computer camp at Vassar College, which is not far from here in Poughkeepsie. We enjoy having him, and it's a great opportunity to bond with him because we only get to see him a couple of times a year. And this is the only time that we have him all to ourselves. We took in the fireworks last night at the Poughkeepsie waterfront. They're not as good as the New York City fireworks, but they're good. And we enjoyed it. Okay, for my housekeeping, I'm giving everyone a one-day extension for the segment 3 discussion board because Blackboard was not available for many of us, including me, on Sunday night. So you have an extra day. Hopefully you'll do it. If you couldn't do it, you'll do it today. Some of you emailed me and I wrote back and said I would give you that extension. So I've looked at several of the selective response tests so far and have some general comments to make. It doesn't appear that a lot of the ones I looked at, those people had looked at my test creation videos. So I will go and tell you to go into additional resources, session 4, and there you will find everything you need to create the test. First of all, these are learning target resources. How to write learning objectives, verbs for behavioral objectives, and tips for writing behavioral objectives. If you've never written them before, and from what I've seen, a lot of you haven't, go and look at those documents. The best thing you can do is look at my creating the selective response test video. I'm not sure if it's for the special ed at TPA, but it doesn't matter. There are 4 learning tasks in the elementary at TPA. There's only 3 learning tasks in the special ed at TPA. So you guys have 4 learning tasks that you have to write about. Here's a guidebook on how to write selective response questions. And here are exemplars. This first one is probably the best one, and I have that right here. As you see, and I mentioned this in the last teaching memo, obviously you're not all watching these teaching memos, but you can see that you begin by listing your 4 learning targets. You can have 5 if you want, but I would recommend 4. If you have 5, the 5th one should be a vocabulary one, and you should use the EdTPA vocabulary because those work well for a matching section. So, okay, so here are your learning targets, and here you have to weight them. So how much is this weighted? So I can just look at your learning target and say, oh, this person is weighting number 4 more than anything else. Why is that? Why is identifying the essential aspects and steps needed when assessing students in elementary mathematics? Why is that weighted more? So I can ask that question if I have to. And then you need to put a name, date in the score. So when a person takes it, they can put their name on it. So this person has also put their learning targets here. Again, you don't have to do that. They also coded them, so it's a little redundant. So if you code your questions LT1, I would put them at the end here, but it doesn't matter. Then you can see this question is aligned with this learning target, and that's a big idea of creating tests. Every one of your questions has to be assessing a learning target, and some of the ones I read, the learning targets were very vague, and the questions, some of them had nothing to do with a learning target. Many of you are going to put the purpose of the EdTPA. You can assess that target in one question. So go deeper. Use the rubrics. Some of you have taken the EdTPA. Go into the rubrics and compare and contrast. And what do you need? What's the difference between a 3 and a 4 on rubric 3 and planning, and so those are area you should go to. Every set of questions, every time you use a different type of question, true, false, matching, fill in, you have to have instructions. And in a true false question, just say circle true or false. That's all you need to do. Fill-ins, you have to have directions for the fill-in. And if you have multiple answers, make them separate questions, as this person did here. So if that's a multiple fill-in, do not use extended written responses, and I've already seen some of those. So typically a fill-in will be a sentence, what we call a proposition, with one a significant part missing. And the significant part should be at or towards the end of the stem or of the sentence. And remember that. You have to read chapter 5 and Chap Away. They give you directions for all of these types of questions. And the last part is, in my test creation video, I teach you how to make a two-column matching. Now, you only need to have 2 matchings. I would recommend more than that. This person has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions, and your matching questions are each a separate question. So this is a question, this is a question, so this person has 15 through 20. You should have, I would put the short answers on the left, your longer answer to match on the right, and you always need at least one more choice than you have questions on the left. You need one more choice on the right to eliminate to avoid the process of elimination. So those are my suggestions for just quickly for what you need to do. So go into additional resources, section 4, and you'll find everything you need to know. There's also other resources there that will help you. In the upcoming segment, you will download the test of your group members, which means they are depending on you to submit it in the Session 6 Task 1 Select a Response Test DB, and many of you have done that already. I'll go here to the discussion board, and you'll see that there are 12 posts already. And what I will do is I will download your post, everybody's Select a Response test. You download it, and then you take it and post it back to the Session 7 Select a Response items. You can see that I have already posted tests, so you're going to right click and download that document, because I've made comments on the document. And so I've made some general comments here, but I've made some specific comments on the document. So that's how you'll get feedback from me, and that really is going to be the only feedback I give you during this whole process. So after you revise your test, hopefully you will take into account all those things that I mentioned. So that's what you'll do for this next session, Session 7. You're going to download, then upload, take the test and upload it. So you're supposed to take the test as a closed book. That's what I would recommend. And then we're going to go through this process one more time, so you'll get others to take your revised test. So that's what you're supposed to do with your Select a Response test, and I'm looking forward to looking at them and giving you feedback. Please watch my video. I can tell when you haven't. Okay, that's the end of housekeeping. I'll be back talking about Session 5 and Session 6 highlights and the assignments for this session.